everybody. I'm Scott, and thanks for joining me again today for another episode of the Rock Love Magazine podcast, where we examine, explore, and celebrate the music that ran from 1995 to 2001 when this zine ran. Quite frankly, we celebrate music of all time. Why not? And taking a look at lists of our favorite things, interviews that we ran during the magazine back then, which were all never before heard since they were done for paper articles, including people like our hero Todd Rundgren, and interviews we are doing now live, in many cases 30 years later, getting reacquainted with people. And I have a great story for you today. So when you think of the greatest selling albums of all time, my favorite and our favorite on the list of those albums would definitely be Meat Loaf, which comes in at number 7, Bat Outta Hell, has sold 47 million copies to date, includes everybody on this podcast that we love, members of Utopia involved. And, it's just one of the greatest pieces of work. And what's unique about the album, and I'll get to my guest. Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm good.
What's unique about the album is that it was kind of out of place in its time. Nobody wanted it. Clive Davis turned down the record at Arista. Todd Rundgren had to take the album on as producer and basically tell Albert Grossman to put the tab on his bill in case the thing did not work out, and we know that to not be the case. And then there was even 15 or 16 years between Bat Outta Hell 1 and Bat Outta Hell 2, which was also a top of the charter, selling 14 or 15 million more copies. And then here we are today, 30 some odd years later, and the thing's still alive. And so this thing that kind of just never seemed to fit, according to some, fits to the whole world all this time. So my guest today, Steve Steinman, is somebody who is helping to carry that flame, keep it alive. He's got these amazing shows. He's sold 7 million tickets. He's done 4,000 shows. He's got his own number one albums. What I love about the story that we're going to get into is he does this all on an indie basis. This is a few man show, right? And he goes up against the behemoths that are putting on big shows. So we're going to get into all of it. But first, Steve, when we talk about these Bat Out of Hell shows that you're producing, what do you call it to people? Is it Broadway and West End? Is it a rock concert? Is it some of all? What is it?
We are definitely but I come from a theatrical background. I wrote a musical. We've got Eternal Love, the musical touring, very theatrical, all original music, and that is where I'm based. I'm based out of that theatrical United Kingdom West End style shows. So when I first started doing my first Meat Loaf inspired show, which was 35 years ago, which it feels like yesterday, really, and that's how I managed to meet all the guys from Meat Loaf and all the guys back in the day. I mean, I'd be on tour. I was in South Africa, and I met up with the guys when they were in South Africa, and our paths have crossed over the years. So it's definitely a theatrical experience with a rock concert. I'm definitely more on the rock side with this particular show, and the new show is Bat Out of Hell, Bat 50th. It's just going to be amazing. I mean, 50 years of Bat Out of Hell next year. That's unbelievable. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, and still
50 years.
You spin it today and it sounds as great as it sounded 50 years ago. Okay, so let's go backwards a little bit and then work our way up. So tell us about, you're from the town of Oldham. Tell us about, for those of us that aren't familiar with that town, where in the UK, what kind of town is it, growing up, your childhood, your parents, your family, your brothers and sisters, what's going on there?
Every town, every place in England, as you guys know, we're small. We're all in these small towns, and we're talking to Mark, who's coming over playing piano for me, Mark Alexander, and we were talking about travel. Where what do we do about travel? I said, Mark, everything is 2 hours from each other, so we won't need hundreds of tour buses. We won't need overnights. Most of the time we can travel and go back home, then travel to the next show. So that's the glory and the fantastic thing about touring in the United Kingdom as opposed to touring in America.
You know,
But I started
a
in
long time
Oldham.
ago, Steve, I interviewed Bill Wyman of the Rolling Stones back in the magazine days
Yeah.
when he left the Stones and did the Rhythm Kings. And I said, "Are you going to take the tour outside of the UK and everything?" He goes, "No, for the same reason." He goes, "I want to be just a couple of hours from home, no matter where we play that
Yeah.
night."
And we try and do that. I think it's built in the British touring people, you know, because when we have to go abroad or go away and go into Europe, it's, you know, tour buses. I dread tour buses, but we do use them. We have to, when we do Ireland, we've got to use them when we go to Ireland, and if we go into Europe. But generally, no, we started out in Oldham. I did way back in the 80s, and that's how I started. And there was a TV show called Stars in Their Eyes where you went on and performed as your idol, as the person you most looked up to in the music industry, and I performed as Meat Loaf.
Okay,
And
so
that is how it started.
hold on a second. So, okay, so now we're again. This is before you're doing these shows. We're talking what, like 1992.
Yeah.
You know, let's all remember also in 1990. I mean, reality shows sure go way back to, you know, Candid Camera and shows like that, which you had in the UK.
Yeah.
But until 2000, there weren't hundreds of reality shows. So
No.
shows like Stars in Your Eyes in the UK were huge. So tell us, how did you
Yeah.
get onto that show? I understand you were in a family restaurant and somebody overheard you singing. Like, give us the little history of that led to the show.
You've done your own work. Yeah, I started off in a family restaurant, cooking, chefing, and we'd put entertainment on. We'd have all the big acts of the area and in England coming to the hotel and venue for shows, and I'd always been a character, and I always get up and do a song with the band, and somebody recorded me singing, took the words right out of my mouth, and they sent it in on a cassette into the TV, which was Manchester at the time, Granada. They sent the tape in, and I got a phone call, and would you like to come in for an audition for the show? I thought, fantastic, great advertisement for the restaurant, really. So I never ever expected to be in this industry. I was never going down that road. I got to a crossroads in my life, and I took the music side, which luckily I did, and it's paid off for me. And that's how I got into music, by the TV show. It was a crazy way in, really.
So tell us about that TV show, how big of a deal it was in your country at the time.
Yeah.
Massive. Okay. And so why Meat Loaf? Was that part of the audition thing that you told them that you were going to choose Meat Loaf? And how important was Meat Loaf in this album to you at this time in your life?
Growing up like everybody, I bought the album. I must have been about 12 or 13 when I first heard the album. And the first song I ever heard was Paradise by the Dashboard Light. And I thought, what the heck is this? This is amazing. Because at the time we were going through punk, and it was just going into the 80s, you know, and it was just getting a bit new romantic. So this was massive, bombastic. And I loved rock and roll. You know, I loved me Jerry Lee Lewis and all them guys back in the day. So I loved this rock and roll, rock music. And Stars in Their Eyes came along, and it was all about the voice, Stars in Their Eyes, and what they did then they dressed you up to look like the person. So it was about the voice. So I went in and sang, and I've just naturally got the same tone. I don't try to sound like Meat Loaf. If you listen to my own albums, people will always say, God, sounds like Meat Loaf, or it's got a hint of Meat Loaf. But that's just how I sound. I really can't get away from it. So I couldn't have gone on and been Phil Collins, or I couldn't have gone on and been Rod Stewart. I just sang a Meat Loaf song, and I sound like Meat Loaf. And that was the key. And then we went on, and it was massive, the show. It was as big as Britain's Got Talent at the time. I guess they do America's Got Talent and all the big, massive TV shows now. But you only got one night. You just went on, did the show, and that was it. And you walked away, and you went back to your day job. Unlike today, where most people are already fighting or trying to be a musician or a singer, or the touring, where back then, no, I was cooking in the kitchen. I was waiting on. It was, it was for fun.
So what happens when you're back in the kitchen and back in the day job now? And how does the whirlwind start? The shocking response that you get from this afterwards.
It wasn't like it is today. So you never got to do loads of interviews. You never got to go back on the TV. It just went away. You just went to, everybody recognized you in the restaurant for a day and then you went back to reality. And then I've just worked for 35 years to get where I am today. It's just been a really long road, a long slog. Somebody once said, if you take Steve Steinman's route, it's a long way to the top.
Absolutely. Okay, so now tell us how the whole thing evolved, choosing to produce shows and Meat Loaf shows. What do you have any publisher issues? What's their reaction? Is it just pay us the money and do whatever you want, or they're like, we don't want to hear about your bullshit, or like what? Well, how does this whole thing develop? These shows? Well, because sometimes they'll say, unless you're somebody we know or through somebody we know,
Yeah.
we don't want to license this stuff to you.
We pay the PRS. It's a concert basically. If you're doing a musical, then it's a because there is obviously Bat Out of Hell the musical, which is a licensed thing. It's completely different to what we do. We're doing the music. We pay our dues with the publishers, and you just pay your way as you would do if you were doing a concert in a bar or a club. It's the same thing. We do put theatrics into our shows. It's more than a concert, but it is a concert. It's a definite 70s feel concert, with the stage props and the lighting, the sound. It's not just all about LED screens anymore. Not for me, because I love props. I love to bring things on stage, and I love things to happen. We have a huge motorcycle that comes on stage. We have half of a car that we do Paradise behind, as if we're out there and we're looking over, the New York City skyline, and we're making out. So I have all these props. We have a big jukebox when we do Dead Ringer. So I have all these props, and we make it a little every song is a theatrics number anyway. They were written that way by Jim. He wrote these songs. He was dead theatrical, wasn't he? He loved that sort of stuff. So that's what we do within our production. So it's just been a massive from where we started to where we are now, when we're actually touring, obviously with Kasim, Sulton, and Mark Alexander. It sounds like it's happened overnight, but it's been 35 years in the making for Bat Out of Hell the 50th. And when I bumped into Kasim, he was the first one to say, "Let's do it. Let's go. Let's do this." And they're all so excited, because I don't think Kasim's played these songs for quite a while now, and I think they're just all excited to go and have some fun. And it definitely is. It's just great fun. There's no pressure. We just go out there and let it rip and do these incredible songs. And we're obviously going to do Anything for Love. We're obviously going to do Total Eclipse of the Heart. So it's about Bat Out of Hell, but it's also about Jim Steinman. It's also about Meat Loaf. So let's pick the best of the best in the 50th. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, no, and a great songwriter and collection of songs. So yeah. As you decide to do this, do you do any deep dive into Jim and into Meat Loaf to find out more about them in these songs before you just start putting this thing together?
Yeah. I mean, I've been learning over the years, so stuff's been coming up, and I'm really excited to get Kasim and Mark in the car, and we're going to do some carpool interviews like what we're doing now. I've got them here for months, so I'm going to really be able to get stuck in, because I find it fascinating that Kasim, he was there at the very, very beginning, and I want to talk to him, and I've not really asked him yet, but I want to wait till I'm face to face. I want to find out what you thought when you first heard that. Did you think it was, wow, that song's too long, that'll never work? What were your thoughts? Like most people's thoughts, it'll never work. This album won't work. So I'm really looking forward to diving in and doing some good interviews. And when we get on the road, we'll do another one with us all. I think that's what we'll
awesome.
do.
That'll be great. Cass, I just spoke to him recently. He tells great story about how that whole thing developed. Like I said, Todd, told Albert Grossman he was going to do this, but even before that, they had them up in Bearsville, New York, and Meat Loaf and Jim and the two gals. They performed the album start to finish for Todd and most of the Utopia guys, and Roy Bitton from the E Street Band and whatnot. And again, the album has stood the test of time, but what did you learn about anything different that you didn't know about the songs, about Meat Loaf or about Jim, as you're putting the thing together?
Well, I know Lorraine Crosby quite well, who worked with Jim, and she obviously sang "Anything for Love" with Meat Loaf, and that was a great story. You should get Lorraine on one day because that was a great story she's got. Because she went over to America from Newcastle to work with Jim on an album, at the time they said, "Do you want to come and meet Meat Loaf? We're doing this new song." It happened to be "Anything for Love," so she'd never heard the song, and they were struggling to find a ghost singer, really, somebody to just sing the girl part, so Meat could sing back to it and get his expression and do it properly. So they just stuck Lorraine in the booth and said, "Just sing this for us. We're just so Meat can copy you and sing along with you." And the track was that good, they just kept it one take, and they kept her voice, and that was the "Anything for Love" duet, as we all know it today. So going knowing more about Jim was coming from Lorraine about his little synchronicities and the way he was, and he was a genius, musical genius, I believe, and all musical genius, they're all a bit crazy. We've all got some ADHD going on, we've all got some autism going on in some way or other, and I've definitely learned that's what he was like. He was very, he'd be up all night. He'd spend most of the day in bed, and then he'd be up all night. And a lot of these musical geniuses do that. They're like vampires. And that's where I got my idea for Vampires Rock, my musical, because I was doing all the songs of Meat Loaf. I was doing other classic rock songs. And I thought, how do we do a show that is all classic rock, but it's not using one person's songs like Meat Loaf songs? And I thought, well, you know what? Mick Jagger, still alive, must be a vampire. Jim Steinman, he was at the time, he must be a vampire. They're all vampires. And that's how I came up with the idea for Vampires Rock. And Vampires Rock's been touring for 25 years now. So it's been amazing. We went from covers to original. So my two albums are now in the musical. So I've learnt a lot, really. And it's just amazing to think I'm going to be working with Kaz and I'm going to be working with Mark, on the piano.
Yep.
If you'd have told me that 25 years ago, I'd have just laughed. There was no way. But these guys are, I just want to work with the best musicians in the world, and we're doing that, and that's what's going to happen next year on the 2027 tour. It's going to be out of this world, yeah.
So tell me about, one of the things you see Meat Loaf spoke about in interviews throughout the years was that he tried to, he did a lot of work with what's his name, Straussman at method acting at the method acting school and whatnot. Yes. So he would talk about how he was always imbuing some sort of character into the persona of who he was being and singing in every single one of these songs. So how did you do that for the show and create characters and try and imbue a 3D life into this beyond just the music?
Yeah, you know what it is? The songs drive that because of the lyrics and the storytelling. I love storytelling. If you listen to any of my albums, my original songs, they're all stories. I love a story. Jim Steinman was a big storyteller. He loved it. He loved all that 1950s and the bike crashes and the cars and the girls, and that's where Paradise came from. And you once you start to sing them, you can imagine you're in that world. And as an actor and theatrical performer as I am, I get into that. But what we aren't is a tribute band, because there's a crossover now between tributes and shows, and you use the word tribute and people sum up, oh, it's a guy who's going to be wearing a wig and waving a red handkerchief about. Well, that's not what we do. And we've managed to make it work for all the years because we put such a great show on and the music is dead right, but it's also funny. And we have some really funny moments, because I think Jim Steinman's songs were funny. I think they were designed in that manner, where some people don't perceive them as funny, but if you listen to them, they're hilarious. The circumstances of Paradise in the backseat of a car and they're trying to get it on. She's pushing him away, and they're just funny songs, really. Bat Out of Hell, I'm down at the bottom of the pit in the blaze. They're just so dramatic and can have a comical edge to them. And you've got to find that, and we do. And when the audience go away, the key for us is you've got to have had a laugh, you've got to have smiled and laughed out loud, as well as nearly cried when we've done For Crying Out Loud. So we try and bring all the emotions, you know. And my biggest thing, what I would love to do, I would love to be able to have Meat Loaf up on the screen and sing Heaven Come Wait with Meat Loaf as a duet. It would be an awesome. Don't know whether we'd be legally able to do this, but that would be an amazing thing for the show if I could do something of that
Well,
caliber.
in today's age of, with the hologram thing they talk about, it's highly possible in the future.
Yeah.
But what I love about the whole concept is, as we start to think about, unfortunately, people like Meat Loaf losing our musical heroes, like, how do we keep this going? And how do we do it as something other than, like you say, than a corny tribute thing? So let me ask you a big question as far as reproducing some of this stuff. Because again, we're Rock Love Magazine. The name of our magazine comes from a Todd Rundgren in Utopia song. So one of the most famous epic things and stories on the Bat Out of Hell album is Todd Rundgren's motorcycle guitar. So how are we reproducing that? And Jim Steinman even tells this great story about acting like a little boy, saying, "Todd, I want motorcycle sounds on the song and whatnot." So what do we do about what is really a famous, iconic riff that is seldom seen in rock and roll?
Well, I'm doing my best if we can get Todd on one of the shows. That would just blow my mind. We've been trying to get the Royal Albert Hall, and if I could get it, I bet we could get Todd there. Who else to do that guitar part? Listen, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Crazy things have been happening in my life. I mean, meeting these guys and getting them to come and play. So who knows? It may happen, but
you guys are performing. You're performing everything, right? You're not playing tapes or loops, or everything's being performed. Okay,
all live.
Okay,
we have two great.
And that would include our other favorite thing of Todd saying "on a hot summer's night," which is Todd's famous soliloquy there.
Yeah, we tape that. We have a tape of that. I used to do it live. I've done it many different versions where we would do that live, or we would have the actual tape on, or we would make a tape of it, because to get the volume up there and to make it say, you're playing in arenas and stuff. Sometimes if you're just talking, it would get lost. So I'm still putting the back show together and all the video footage, because I want to show some of the backstory of Bat Out of Hell as we're doing the show. So there'll be a lot of stuff going on the screens. We have big LED screens, and I want to tell the story. I mean, it's 50 years, and everybody remembers the day they first heard the album. It's a bit like when Elvis died. You all remember where you were when Elvis passed away. And I speak to people all the time, and they always remember the first time they played the album and the first time they bought that album. And I think there's other albums through history. It's the same. Fleetwood Mac's the same. ELO's the same. There's certain albums where people go, I remember when I bought that album, and I've still got that album. I still play that album. And what's great now is I've seen kids grow up in front of me. So the parents have brought the little children. And I've seen kids go from children to having their own children. That's how long I've been doing this show. And Meat Loaf has been a big part of the kids' lives because of the parents. We're in the perfect age group now for people who have got money. They want to enjoy themselves. They reminisce. They want to go back to when they were a teenager. I talk about the first car they would have been driving, first British car they'd have been driving when the furry dice in the window screen, and how they met the wife. And I bet that's not the wife now they're sat with, And we have this big conversation about it's a memory. It's about going back in time, but making it fun. And that's what Meat Loaf is to so many people. And they'll all have the favourite song, even though every single song on Bat Out of Hell is amazing. People ask me, which is your favourite song? Every single song is just amazing to do on Bat Out of Hell. There is not one song I think I don't like to do. I just love them all. The problem is it's not long enough. We need more. We should have had more songs on that album. That would have been even better. So at least we can put Dead Ringer in. At least we can put Anything for Love in there. We might, there's so many great songs we can put in there. And we even do Prelude, which is a Jim Steinman piano piece, which came, I can't even remember what it was. Bad for Good. I can't think. No, it
I
wasn't.
think it
No,
was
that was
on
Meat
that
Loaf,
one
wasn't it?
solo album that he had. Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to think what it was. Pandora's Box, was it on? I think it could have been Pandora's Box. And so we get Mark to do Prelude, which is amazing, which we will then go into All Coming Back to Me Now, which just works unbelievable, and everybody knows that incredible song, So the songs are amazing, and so easy to perform in the sense of the dramatics of it. They're so dramatic. It's a great show to do. Great songs to perform. We'd love to bring it to America. That would be awesome. That would be
Yeah, I hope you're
a
able to do
dream come
so.
true.
Tell us,
Maybe we'd get Todd on it then.
tell us a little bit about two of our favorite heroes from the original album, in Kasim Sultan and Mark Alexander, who guys who have played on dozens
Yeah.
of albums and with all the top rock stars throughout history. And
Yeah.
how exciting is it to have these guys aboard?
It's a dream come true. It's incredible. My wish has always been to have the best band in the world playing these songs, and to have the guys who, like Kasim, there at the beginning playing bass on that, and such a musician, a great guitar player, great piano player as well. And then Mark, I first met Mark way back. I can't even remember how far back it was. I think Mark's been playing with Meat Loaf 25 years. He'd done so many different tours. Like I said, I met Kasim in South Africa, and then we met again at the Royal Albert Hall backstage there. I was backstage with the guys then. So I've met them in and out through the years, but never dreamt they would come and play. And I'll tell you the funny story how I got to meet Kasim again. He was playing over here recently, just now, with Todd, and they were at the Birmingham Alexander Theatre in the United Kingdom. And the tour bus driver called me, who was my tour bus driver on our last tour. And he said, Steve, I've got Kasim on the bus. I'm doing a tour. And he obviously knows me and the Meat Loaf connection. And Kasim had said to him, great, I'd love to meet Steve again. And I went, what, he fancy wants to meet up again? I thought, flipping it, I'm not missing this opportunity. So I jumped in my car that night, drove down, jumped on the tour bus. Kasim had just done his sound check, jumps on the tour bus. Steve, how are you? We had a 5-minute chat. We talked about the 50th anniversary. He says, I'm in. I want to do it. Let's do it. It took about 5 minutes for us to agree to do the 50th anniversary. And then from there, I dropped an email to Mark. We hadn't spoke for quite a while because, that's what you do. You're connected, and you can reconnect quite easily in this industry. So I dropped Mark an email. He come back and said, boom, count me in. This sounds amazing. Great fun. He hadn't been on the road for a while. He fancied getting back on the road. So Mark is coming over all this year. He's coming over in June. And then he goes back for December. Then he's back again for April next year. So we've got about 140 shows to do.
Wow.
And Kasim is going to jump in and out when he's not touring with Todd. Obviously, Todd's his main, it's his priority, which obviously. So as soon as Todd's not touring, Kasim will be over with us, touring in all the shows. It's going to be amazing. And we're doing a cruise. Steve Steinman's
I
rocking
saw
the
that.
boat.
Tell me about that. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I did a cruise 2 years ago. We did a special Anything for Love cruise with Lorraine Crosby and myself, all my band, and we went on the MSC Virtuosa from Southampton. We went all around around England, up to Ireland and back, and fantastic response, amazing. So we booked another one, and now Mark and Kasim are coming on the next one, but we're doing a week. And we call Steve Steinman's Rocking the Boat out of Southampton over to France, to Spain, and a week cruise, rocking the boat. So we're going to be doing it all again, and that's in September. And the guys, Kasim and Mark, just jumped. They said, "Oh yeah, definitely we'll be coming on that." So it's just great fun to have these guys on board. Their background is, I think Mark, was it Joe Cocker he's played with, and Curtis Stigers, and the legends, the
Huge.
musical legends.
Michael Kamen,
Yeah.
Pavarotti, Joe Cocker. Huge. Tell me about, I know you've been doing it for over 35 years, but what the complexity of reproducing Jim Steinman's songs, because these are not, every song's a fucking opus. How do you do it?
Well, have the best musicians, it's having the best. I've got a great, and drummers are key. to all these songs as well, as much as the guitar players. Piano, guitar, drums, bang. You've got to get the band right. Backing vocals, all live. I have 4 backing vocals on board with us. Drummer, incredible drummer, Joe Lazarus, whose uncle is Iron Maiden, Steve. So he comes from good stock. So we've got the best musicians. So it's about that. It's about keeping the musicians at the top of their game. You can't. It's not a pub band. It's not. It's You can't have a day job and do this job. It is a full-time career move. And a lot. That's the difference when you see a tribute band or you see a professional band. The difference is so vast. And to have Mark and to have Kasim, he's just taking us to that next level again. And I think it'll up the game on everybody. I think everybody will step up. I think it really will.
Absolutely.
Well, when we do the first rehearsal, I can tell you we'll all be shitting ourselves.
So good segue there. So along those same lines, we only see the 2.5-hour show, right? The iceberg above the water. So what goes into putting it together? How much rehearsal time? Like, what is it? What's the iceberg part below the water? All the hard work that we don't see.
Well, I've started now, so I'm nearly 2 years ahead, really, because a lot of the tour starts. Well, it starts in April, but I started this in January. So I came up with the idea, kind of Jan Feb, thinking about the 50th. Then I met Kasim. I think it was in February. So as soon as he said he was on board, that was the pull the pin, boom, we're going. So I then, as a production company, so I do all the booking. I do all the technical side, all the PA, all the lighting from my office where I'm sat now. We have a team of people here. So, as you said, I'm an independent producer, director. It just so happens I'm also the singer. But we do everything from our office. So, immediately we got the thumbs up from Kasim and from Mark. We said, let's do this. I started getting in touch with venues, arenas, concert halls, and there are now 70 dates in for next year already. We should be touching, I think, probably 80 or 90 dates by the end of the year when we by the end. So that's a lot of shows to do. Then we've got European tour planned for 2028. So that should happen. So behind the scenes, it's massive. And building stage sets. I've just had all the new microphone stands, silly stuff that you don't even think of. The cloths for all the drum risers and the trim, the LED video production. So that'll take months just to put what I want on that screen, because every song is going to have something that means something to that song on that video screen, something to entertain the people. And I want them to go away with a bit of knowledge as well. They might have come knowing about Bad Out of Hell, they know the album, but I want them to go away going, well, I didn't know that happened, or I didn't know that was that. And I want a little bit of knowledge to go home with these people as well. So much, and I'm not going to stop working on this now till really December this year. And I'm going to start the PR and the promo in June. So as soon as Mark gets here and Kasim's coming to do 3 shows this year, we're going to start the PR and we'll start showing everybody this is what's going to happen in 2027. Most of the dates are on sale now. We've already started selling dates and selling, hundreds of tickets within the first 2-3 hours. So we're absolutely over the moon with the way it's going already.
Tell me about battling the corporate behemoths. Like, you've got something here. It's obviously been successful enough that it's continued on for 35 years. What's it been like going up competitively against these corporate behemoths that do something similar but not as good or without as much care and love behind it because it's financial? And then also, did any of them try and have you been a threat to them at all? Did any of them try and take you out financially or get you out of the way? Just have you fail?
Well, I'm fairly big as a producer and director in my own right in the UK of producing shows. Now, I'm very friendly with a lot of the big producers, and I think 1 or 2 have come along and they try to put on similar shows, but they always fail. It never happens. So most of them, well, I'd say nearly all of them, don't even bother anymore. The only other show which you could compare, which really you can't because it's a musical, So you've got musical theatre, musical singing. The way we are a rock show, we're a rock band. It's as close to the original rock show as you're gonna get, where a musical is a musical and it's full of skipping, dancing, throwing the legs in the air, type West End, and that's not what we are. So there's no competition there. You Bat Out of Hell, the musical, run here last year. I run my show last year. There was no conflict. There was no clash. You will either like musical theatre or you will rather go to a rock concert style show. So we don't really clash. Other producers have not put anything together. They've tried, but they can't compete. I've got 35 years worth of fans, and I think my reputation has preceded me, and they think, well, that seems to be the best one. Let's go and watch this Steve Steinman guy. And I'll tell you the name Steve Steinman. You know, obviously my name's not Steinman, and it came about because a lot of people, the real diehard Jim Steinman fans, Meat Loaf fans, they don't like the fact that I'm called Steinman. You know, and it was a stage name, and it stuck. And it was when I did the TV. So I'm going to tell this story, so it's out there. So I did the TV show, and to be on TV in England at that time, you had to be part of a union, and you had to sign the papers. And if somebody had used your name and they'd got it in the you can't use your name. You have to find a new name. So some bright spark at the TV show said, well, do Steinman. He wrote the song. Say Steve Steinman. That sounds good. And I thought, oh, yeah, that's all right. And don't forget, I was never going to be an entertainer. I was going back to the kitchen. So, yeah, Steve Steinman. And that name has been with me longer than my own original name when I was born with. So that's how the Steinman came along. So I'm not trying to kid anybody. And I get a lot of people saying, are you related to Jim? And obviously not. You know, I'm from Oldham. So it just wanted to be out there. And I've told many people, but you get a lot of diehard Jim fans and they get upset that I'm called Steinman. And it's hard now to sort of revert back. It's 35 years. I'll just keep it. I'm all right with it.
You know, the purists, there's nothing you can do about it. And you know, the thing that's about this too is that this comes from in here for you. This goes back to even before Stars in Their Eyes. You're a Meat Loaf fan. Yeah. This album's important to you in your life as a young man or a young child, a young teenager even. So how do you can't compete with that, you know? So
no. Yeah, you know, I'm so passionate about everything we do, and I'm not just a producer. I'm the artist, so I have more passion for that product that I'm putting out there, and I'm singing. So the stage set has to be right. If I was just a promoter, it wouldn't matter to them if that backcloth didn't look right, or it wasn't correct to the album cover, or it wasn't correct. It is to me. It means everything to me. So when you come and watch one of my shows, you go away and you've been entertained. And at the end of the day, that's what we do. We're entertainers. We're entertaining. And I know people work really hard for that money, for that dollar, for that pound. And if you go away and you feel you've been cheated a little bit, that would really be like sticking a dagger in my heart. You know, I want them all to go away and go, wow, what a night that was. And I'm not trying to be Meat Loaf. That's the key. The key is I'm not Meat Loaf. Who can be Meat Loaf? I'm not trying to portray who he is or what he is or pretend I'm him. I am Steve Steinman. I walk out with this accent, my voice, my no hair, and we go at it and we just make them songs. And I think people within the first 2 minutes get it. If they're not sure about me or what we do, within the first minute they go, bang, yes, we understand what's happening here. We get this show. He's not trying to be Meat Loaf. He's just doing the song. We try and do the songs absolutely 100% correct. But in between, we have fun and we have some giggles and we bring the audience in and we just reminisce on them days when you first bought that album. Because it's all about a memory, a time and a place. And you will remember driving your car and a certain song will come on. You know where you were when that song come on. And to me, that's what this is all about.
Yeah, these are this is an iconic collection of songs.
Yeah,
I always thought it was amazing at the time. I don't know if this was this way over in Europe, but the fact that they were playing these songs on pop radio here, the radio was very resistant to anything over 5 minutes
yeah,
long. They begrudgingly accepted Bohemian Rhapsody and way back when and
yeah,
Stairway to Heaven, but now they're playing Paradise by the Dashboard Light and Bat Out of Hell and 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Well, that's not one's not as long, but they're playing these 7 and 8 and 9 minute songs, and
yeah,
it changed the whole specter of radio. So yeah, this is
yeah.
amazing stuff. So now that you've been doing it for all these years, Steve, what do you think about when you reflect on the 35 years have gone by since this TV show?
I reflect and I think back how tough it was for Meat Loaf when he started with the album, and then when I started, I'd get turned down all the time. They'd always say, "No, we're not interested in heavy metal. We don't want heavy rock in this bar, in this club." And I used to have to ring up and pretend I was somebody else and say, "Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll send the guys along, and if you don't like it, don't pay them." And that's how tough my life's been, really, doing this. So doing Bad Out of Hell has not been easy. There's something about that album that some people shy away from, which is crazy in this day and age. Because in England at the moment, there must be 400 tribute bands to Meat Loaf. But people are still going, they still sometimes think, oh no, it's not for us, till they then book it and then it's rammed. And people are there and they can't believe, I would then be their best seller. And all they wanted at the time was Tina Turner, Rod Stewart, that kind of thing. So looking back, it's been an hard slog, but for the love of the music, we're still here and dragging fans along, because once you've been to one of my shows, you come back again. And I think that's the key. So looking back, reminiscing on it all, let's hope it gets a bit easier, because I'm getting too old now to keep fighting. But we still have to fight some venues. It's never just pick up the phone. I know I've got 70, 80 venues in, and the biggest venues in the UK, but there is still some opposition, even today, with having even Kasim, having Mark, with having the 50th. There's still venues go, oh, not too sure. And you think, and that's because you're dealing with a manager who's 20 and he doesn't get it. He hadn't got it. He never got it. He never had it. He doesn't understand it. And you deal with Mayflower Theatre in Southampton, big Meat Loaf fan, loved it, booked it, sold out, 2,000 seats, and he got it and he understood. And he was booking it back in the day when nobody else wanted it, but he understood it. And I think that's the key. You're dealing with new managers who really don't know. They wouldn't know Michael Jackson's Thriller, most of them. It's just an age thing, and we're getting old. And these kids are coming along, and they're turning stuff down because they don't know how massive this is to people like you and me. And I mean, it's like when Todd tours, you speak to people about Todd, unless you know who Todd Rundgren is, you've not a clue. And this guy's filling theatres in the United Kingdom, 2,000 seaters. I think it was 1,500 when I saw him at Birmingham. And people, they're just mad fans, but you have to know the music. But I bet if so many people would, when they were touring Todd, I bet there was venues turned him down because they wouldn't know who he was. They really would. And it's crazy to think in this day and age, but it's because of the management. So looking back, it's been a long road. We're not finished yet, are we? We're still going. I'll let you know how it's going in 2028.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I can't wait to catch up with you guys when you're on the road doing the show. I'd love to get all of you in the band together and do a round robin with
Yeah.
everybody. I can't wish you enough success with this. This is a great, iconic group of songs. You couldn't pick a better group of songs to try and continue on the legacy for. I mean, and it's just a wonderful thing. And everybody in the Todd Rundgren community, I would imagine, loves the idea of this. I can't wait to see Kasim on stage with you.
I hope so. I haven't really spoke to anybody in the Todd Rundgren, that kind of. I just hope they take it for what it is. We're there to really keep the music going and do it justice. And I think if Kasim and Mark thought it was less of what it is, they wouldn't be doing it. I think having them guys on board gives us that kudos to this is special and this needs to be seen and heard. So definitely great having those guys. But yeah, I hope the Todd Rundgren fans come out to see us. It would be great if they did. I'd love that.
Well, I'm sure they will because, like I said, this is a very important album to everybody in that community. You know, it's quite frankly, it's Todd, the most successful thing Todd was ever associated with, still to this day. I mean, I think the thing still sells 5 to 10 to 15,000 copies a week to this day. So,
yeah,
you know, unbelievable stuff.
It'll probably chart next year. I bet it charts high again in the 50th next year. I bet.
Sure.
I bet it. You know, there should be some press about it. I would imagine it'll definitely go number one in the rock charts. Now, whether it makes the main charts and gets in that top 50 or even top 20, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. Maybe I should re-record a song. I don't know. Maybe get the guys on it and we'll do I don't know. Do Heaven Come Wait for for Meat Loaf, or do something just to get it out to people. It's to get out to those young people who've never heard of it, and then and you're kind of showing them a new song or a new album that they think doesn't exist because I love watching the guys doing when they're sat watching songs and they've never heard, young people, and they'll be watching a song, somebody singing a song, and they review it afterwards, and it's amazing to think they've never heard of Bat Out of Hell. It's just crazy, isn't it? But it depends on their family and who they've been brought up with, I guess, because they're not played on the radio as much anymore. But with the internet, we can hear all these songs over and over, which is great. And it's great people like you doing these podcasts and telling people we're still out there and the music's still there. Go and see the shows.
Thank you so much. We in some ways you have to, because you want to keep it alive. And then unfortunately, when you compare it to some of what's new, it's like you should listen to this over that. So, hey, Steve Steinman, thank you so much for spending some time with us. I wish you so much success with the Bat Out of Hell 50th tour, everything else you're doing. We can't wait to see you and Kasim and Mark and the rest of your band on stage. And if you want to go hear Todd Rundgren emanating on a hot summer's night from the stage, go see this show. It's great stuff, and I'm really looking forward to it. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Scott.
And we wish you nothing but success, and we will be in touch as you're on the road.
Thanks for staying up till the early hours of the morning. Thank you.
Hey, yeah, and just so everybody knows, it's 3 a.m. here in Las Vegas, and I've got him at 11 a.m. over there in the UK. So that's how much I wanted to do this for everybody. So.
Oh, you're a star. Thank you.
My pleasure, man. Have a great day. Best of success and luck, and we'll be in touch.